Hey guys, today I'm going to be sharing the absolute worst makeup that I tried in 2024 so far. So this is my quarterly video. I did one back in March for all of the products I tried in the beginning of the year, and this is for April, May, and June. So thankfully there aren't too many bad products here, and when I say bad, I just mean they didn't work for me. So please don't get offended if these work for you and you absolutely love them. I think it goes without saying we all have different preferences and skin tones and skin types. So what works for me may not work for you, vice versa, but I think in general, I've just gotten a lot better at choosing products for myself that I know are going to work. So there haven't been too many duds. Actually, a lot of these are things that were sent to me in PR. So I ended up trying them out just for the sake of my channel and they didn't work, but you know what? That's okay. I'm here to give you guys my honest opinion, and you know, I do not hold back whether it was sent in PR or not. So if that sounds good, stay tuned. Let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. Okay, so let's start with foundation. There were two that I tried that I felt like were particularly awful for completely opposite reasons. The first one is the Anastasia foundation stick. So this, oh my gosh, it was a train wreck for me. And this I actually did purchase myself. I thought it was gonna be great by the description. It's supposed to be really hydrating, but when I put this on my skin, holy cow, it just moved around everywhere. It was so greasy. It didn't set down. It didn't go into my skin. It just sat on top and kind of moved around. And if I even touched my face, it would like leave a fingerprint where the makeup came off. And trying to put anything on top of it was also a nightmare for me. And I have really dry skin, so it's pretty hard to make a formula that's going to be greasy on me. But this was, I mean, it just was almost unworkable, and it didn't have a lot of coverage, which that was fine. I expected that because this is supposed to be more of like a skin tint foundation stick. I never expected to have medium or full coverage. So that part I can't really fault it for, but I just felt like it looked so streaky and patchy on my skin because it wouldn't lay smoothly. As I blended one area, it started to come off and kind of move to a different area, and it just, I don't know, it was, like I said, it was a disaster. And then the other one that I didn't like for the completely opposite reason was the Tear Red cushion. This has gone viral. So many people love it, and I've heard from just as many people who feel the way that I do about it. I should clarify, it's not going to be horrible for everybody. Like I said, there are a lot of people who love this. It has full coverage. It is super long lasting. It's one of those foundations that you can put on even in the heat of the summer, and it's not going to melt away. It's actually, I think it was formulated to wear under a mask, and it's not supposed to rub off or come off on the mask. So if that is something that you're looking for, I think this might be something really to check out. But as a dry skin person, I usually try to avoid foundations that say long wearing because they tend to be a little bit drier. They don't have that emollients that gives them that nice slip and the dewy finish on my skin that I prefer. But that dewiness is what makes them not last as long. So it's definitely a trade-off. Now, the first time I tried this on camera, a lot of people told me I used too much. I realized that right off the start because this is so full coverage and you only need the tiniest little bit. So I knew I wasn't gonna like it in that video because like I said, I put on so much, it looked like a mask. But then since then, I've tried this 3 or 4 more times, and I just tried a little amount. I tried prepping my skin really well ahead of time, making sure that I was well hydrated, and it just, even if it looked okay in the beginning, as the day wore on, I just felt like it settled into my pores. It made my fine lines look more apparent. It made my skin look cakey and crusty in certain areas. So I've just kind of accepted the fact that this isn't gonna work for me, and it's probably not gonna work for everybody, like most foundations. Now, I know there are gonna be some people in the comments telling me, try this, try that, like try to get it to work for you because I was able to do XYZ and make it work. And I feel like I've tried almost everything, but for me, this is just another personal preference thing. I don't want to have to make it work. I want something that's just going to look good when I put it on the regular way. I don't want to have to jump through hoops to get something to look good on my skin. It's just not worth it for me. I'm too busy. I just have so much going on. I just want to be able to apply foundation and go. There are just so many other foundations that I like that look good on my skin immediately. I don't want to try to make myself like this just because it's trendy and it's hyped. Now, I did get the white cushion from Tier, which is formulated for dry skin, and that one looks amazing. I love that one. So I'm going to stand by my review on this one and just say it didn't work for me. It might work for you though, so if it does, that's awesome. Next up, another one that I'm probably going to get so many disagreements on because it's Rare Beauty, and I feel like Rare Beauty can do no wrong with pretty much everybody, and I love their stuff too. So this kind of hurts a little bit, but I didn't like their new powder blushes. This is the shade Cheer. Now, these are a glowy blush, but for me, I felt like when I put this on my skin, the ratio of blush to highlighter was a little off for me. I felt like it didn't have as much blush pigment and it was more highlighter. It kind of reminded me of, think of back in like 2016, 2017 when highlighter was, you know, at its peak popularity, and they were coming out with all the different colored highlighters. Like there were pink ones and peachy ones and purple and holographic, you know, all of that. It kind of reminds me of something like that, where it's like a peachy or pink highlighter. When I put this on my cheeks, it was just glowy to the max and highlighted every bit of pores and texture on my face. Now, when I'm wearing a glowy blush, I expect a little bit of that. That's fine. But usually a glowy blush isn't quite this glowy. I thought it was just a little bit overboard and just more of that tinted highlighter effect than anything else. So I wasn't a big fan of these. I thought I was gonna love them. I prefer the Milani baked blushes, or Laura Geller has some that are really good, even the new Kosas ones. They have just the right amount of glow, but they still are pigmented like a blush would be, rather than a highlighter. So I was a little disappointed in this one as well. Next, I have a couple of mascaras that just were big flops. The first two actually are from the brand Pretty Smart. I did a whole video on this brand. I think it was my last video that I posted. And this is a new brand at Walmart, and it's owned by the woman who owns the Balm Cosmetics. So it's like, I guess, a sister brand. It's more affordable, everything under $10. And I actually really liked a lot of the things that I tried, except for these. These were probably the worst performing product, and it was mainly because, if you saw that video, you know, I took the brush out, I went to apply these, and it was like there was almost nothing on the wand. They're really dry formulas, and no matter how much I built these up, they just really didn't do much for my lashes. They didn't give me the volume or the length that I was looking for, despite many, many coats. I will say they didn't smudge or flake, which was good, but I just prefer more dramatic lashes, and these were a very natural lash formula. So if you like that, they may not be a fail for you. You might actually like these a lot, but for me, I just was expecting a little bit more, but the rest of this line is so good. So if you haven't seen that video yet, definitely check it out, especially if you like the Balm's makeup, because I felt like the blushes and the eyeshadows were really reminiscent of that brand. So Pretty Smart seems like a really promising brand. Another mascara that really let me down was the new Maybelline Firework. This one, again, I felt like it didn't give me the drama that I was looking for in my lashes. Plus, I wasn't a fan of the brush. It has the kind of wiggly brush that the Sky High mascara has, and that's okay. I know that bothers some people. It doesn't bother me. But what I didn't like about this one is the bristles are so short that I couldn't get any tension when I was combing this through my lashes. Usually I want the brush to kind of catch on my lashes like as I'm combing it up, because I feel like that just helps to bring them up and kind of curl them and add the length. And this just, like, as I was combing it through, it just felt like the brush was kind of sliding right through and not depositing as much product as I wanted it to. And I think it's just because the bristles are so short. They just didn't grab my lashes. So that one was another disappointment, especially because I love Maybelline's mascaras usually, but that one was just a flop. And then the third one, I don't even think I talked about this in a video. I tried it once and immediately just put it in my pile of things that I'm gonna talk about in this video. So this is the mascara from Refi. It's called Lash Sculpt, and I bought this because on the Sephora website, it had incredible reviews. Now, I'm guessing those may have been some fake reviews because when I went to look just before this video, it's been about a month probably since I bought this. Now, all of a sudden, there's a ton of negative reviews. So they could have been like incentivized, or I don't know. But this has a really kind of unique brush, which I thought was cool. when I saw it online, and it's supposed to give your lashes a ton of length and like a really wispy look, which I love. But I could not get this to work for the life of me, and it's because of the curve in this brush. So it's really long, and I have kind of smaller eyes. My eyes are shorter and rounder. So for example, if I go to buy fake lashes, I have to trim them because they're always too long for me. I feel like they're meant to kind of fit like an almond-shaped eye or an eye that's a little bit longer in length. Mine are just too short. So when I go to put this brush up to my lashes, the curve is wrong. So it catches my lashes on one side of the brush, but then the other side is just kind of hanging out there and it's not really gripping them at all. So it was like the most awkward experience trying to put this on, and then the curved hook at the end was kind of like hitting into the corner of my eye. And usually with a curved wand, I actually like to apply it from the back side that's curved the other way because that's just easier for me. But this one doesn't have any bristles on the back at all. It's just smooth. So I just couldn't get this to work. I feel like the curved brush is so gimmicky, and it may work for some people. It just, I think, really depends on the shape of your eye and the curve of your lashes. For me, this didn't work at all. What mascara I could get on my lashes, I just felt like it didn't give me really much length or volume at all. So I'm really sad that this didn't work for me because I was really excited after reading the initial reviews. It just sounded like it was going to be really good. Next up, I have some lip products. The first one is the NYX Butter Gloss Bling. So these are their Butter Gloss formula, but they have a bunch of glitter in them, and I wasn't really thinking too much of it. I thought these were supposed to be like just a more glowy version of the original, and I mean the formula is nice and thin like the original ones, non-sticky, but the problem is the glitter. I know some lip products they can formulate with glitter where you don't feel the glitter, but in this case it was so gritty. I put these on and you could feel like every speck of glitter on your lips as you went to like rub your lips together. It was horrible. It was like sandpaper. And then on top of that, when I went to remove these, or if they just wore off naturally, they left just this wash of glitter all over my lips and no color, and it looked so strange, and it would get all over my face. They're just messy. So I love that NYX was like kind of trying to renew our interest in these and jazz them up and make them a little more interesting, and in turn maybe sell some of the older butter glosses along with these. But I just felt like the execution was so bad. The formula is just not there, sadly. Another lip product that was really disappointing were these Huda Beauty Faux Filter lip glosses. So these are not bad in theory, but what I didn't like about them is I just felt like they didn't live up to the claims. So I got a whole bag of these. I think I got every color in PR, and they had sent over a booklet saying that these were supposed to make your lips look really smooth, like fill in the fine lines, hence the faux filler name, and also they were supposed to be super glossy. And when I went to put these on for the first time, I just applied a normal amount, and it had more of a cream finish than glossy. So it looked okay, but it wasn't what I was expecting, and I also didn't feel like it really filled in my lip lines the way that they said it would. To get these to look glossy, you have to apply like a stupid amount of them. Like I put on a huge, really thick layer, then I went on and put a little bit more, and at that point I got them to look glossy like the pictures that they had sent me in the booklet, but it was so much gloss that every time I opened my mouth, it was like the gloss was sticking from the top lip to the bottom and making those strings, and it just wasn't cute at all. So I just felt like these were a little bit misrepresented, and that they, you know, the claims didn't match up to my experience, I guess. They're okay. Like I said, you know, they're a comfortable enough gloss to wear. They didn't feel dry on me or anything, but I just found that you have to apply a really light layer of these. Otherwise, they get thick and goopy really fast. And when you do that, they don't really look like a lip gloss at all, and I felt like they just didn't make my lips look any smoother. So these were kind of a bust as well. And then as far as lipsticks go, I was also sent the Moira Lip Goddess lipsticks in PR as well. They sent me a bunch of different colors, and I just thought these felt so dry on my lips. They have a little bit more of a matte finish. I prefer their signature lipsticks that have a little bit more of that melty, balmy kind of texture. These felt okay. Like when you first put them on, they almost have have like that blurring effect. So they did make my lips look smooth, but after wearing it for maybe like 20 minutes or a half an hour, it started to feel just really dry. I just wanted to wipe it off. So again, this is personal preference. I think those of you who love a matte lipstick, these are actually really nice. I mean, full pigment in one swipe. You don't have to like keep building them up. I feel like they're very smooth and silky feeling at first, at least. If you don't have dry lips like me, then you might be fine wearing these throughout the day. But in general, I try to avoid anything that's not super dry. So what I've actually been doing with these is using them as a cream blush. They're perfect for that. The matte finish means that they don't like feel sticky on your cheeks. They feel a little bit drier. So this is the shade Yours, and I just kind of put it on my cheeks like that and just blend with my finger, and they just kind of melt in, and they're actually very long lasting as a blush. So this is something that I do with a lot of my matte lipsticks just so that they don't go to waste. If a brand sends me them and I end up not loving how they feel on my lips, it's an instant blush stick right here. So I find that they work perfectly for that, and they're not scented either. So they don't irritate my skin, and they come in pretty colors. So at least I could still find a use for those. I also have two SPFs that I wanted to talk about. They're both mineral sunscreens. And as you guys probably know, I've been doing shorts all throughout the month of June, testing a new mineral sunscreen every day. So if you've been watching those, you already know how I feel about these. These were some of the worst that I tried. So the first one is the Fenty Hydra Visor Hues. So they had come out with the Hydra Visor mineral sunscreen, and I think there's a chemical version of it too, a while back, but now they have a tinted version that's supposed to be like a tinted moisturizer. I got this one in the shade 2, which is way too dark for me, and I had said in the short video that I did that I should have purchased shade number 1, but then somebody in my comment section said that they're like the same skin tone as me, and even 1 was too dark. So this is what 2 looks like. It was just a little bit too orangey. And when I put this on as a sunscreen, oh my gosh, my skin felt itchy under this because it was so thick and greasy, and it was like a mask just sitting on my skin. It almost felt like it couldn't breathe underneath this layer. And after a while, the itchiness kind of went away, and thankfully I didn't break out from it, but I definitely don't want to try using this again. It was just a really bad experience overall. And it's funny because I was looking at the reviews on the Sephora website, and there were, a couple of negative reviews, but most of them are glowingly positive. And I noticed one thing that people kept saying was that they applied a little bit of this, like they were using a tinted moisturizer. And I was like yelling at the computer screen when I was reading them, like, no, because it's a sunscreen. If you want that SPF protection that's listed on the bottle, you have to use a 1/4 teaspoon or like 2 fingers worth of the product. Yeah, when you put this on just a little bit, like a pea-size amount, it actually feels nice on your skin, and it's not that thick and greasy. But if you're only using that tiny little bit, you're getting a fraction, like maybe 7 to 10% of what the SPF is listed on here. It's not really gonna do you any good. So if you wanna buy this and use it as a tinted moisturizer, that's fine, but just know you're not gonna get that SPF 30 protection unless you use a whole lot of it. And I think that's sort of what I've been running into with a lot of the mineral sunscreens that I'm testing, is that they feel okay if you just use a little amount, but people don't realize how much you actually have to use. And that can take a formula from looking and feeling okay on your skin to being a grease bomb. And I think that's one of the reasons that I've been doing that series throughout the month of June, because mineral sunscreens can be so finicky and so hard to find one that's not thick, that's not greasy, that doesn't leave a white cast. I keep getting comments on those sunscreen videos of people telling me, why don't you just use Korean sunscreen? I do use Korean sunscreen. I love those. I think they're fantastic, but I also feel like most Korean sunscreens are really good. They have elegant formulas, so whatever one you're gonna buy is probably going to look nice on your skin. The whole reason why I'm testing the mineral ones is because they're so finicky. I think it's helpful for people to know which ones to buy and which ones to avoid, because they're not all created equal, and I think it can be really difficult to find a good one. So anyway, that was the first one. The second one that I really didn't like is from Cora Organics, and this is their Silky Sun Drops. So this is another one, if you just put a tiny little amount, it's actually really nice. These have like a milky serum-like texture that is actually really thin, and they're super hydrating. When you rub it into your skin, it almost feels like you're using a facial oil. So you probably know where I'm going with this. If you put just a couple drops of oil on your skin, it's fine, especially if you're dry. It feels really nice. It's nice and hydrating. But try putting a 1/4 teaspoon of something this oily on your skin, and it's like you're headed into glazed donut territory. It was horrible, and nothing went on top of this. When I used this that day, when I made the YouTube short, I put foundation on top of this and it just kind of slid around everywhere. It didn't want to grip to it. I mean, I suppose if you're just going to be using this by itself and you're not going to be wearing makeup, it would be okay. And eventually it sank into my skin, but it took hours and my skin just felt like an oil slick for half the day. So this is something that I might consider using in the dead of winter when my skin is drier than it is now. And maybe if I'm not going to be using foundation that day and I just want to, something really, really hydrating, this might work, but that's really the only scenario I could picture me using that. It certainly didn't work under makeup for me, and it's not gonna work in the heat of the summer either. So that's another one that I just would not recommend. I also didn't love the new Say liquid bronzer that came out recently, and I know I'm gonna get some pushback on this one too, because on the Sephora website, there are a ton of really positive reviews for this, and they're not just the incentivized ones. So there are people out there who love this, and that's awesome, but for me, I felt like this was really patchy. When I went to put it on my skin, it looked muddy and it looked patchy. It was kind of lifting off my foundation underneath, and I think it's because the texture is a little bit thicker with this one. It's kind of creamy. I do love the color. This is the shade Salt. So I like this color. It's a little bit more cool toned. It's not super orange, so I do like that. But when I went to blend it, I don't know, it just, to me, it looked patchy and unblended in areas, and I wasn't a fan of it at all, especially if I compare it to the Glossier liquid bronzer that came out recently. That one is fantastic. It's so smooth on your skin. It's really effortless, really foolproof. This one, I mean, I might be able to make it work, but again, I'm looking for things that I can just put on and not have to manipulate them in these weird ways to try to get them to work. I just want products that are gonna work right off the bat, and this one was just a little bit harder to use for me, and I know I'm not alone in that. I sorted by like the lowest reviews on the Sephora website, and I saw that people were kind of saying the exact same thing, like it was patchy and it was muddy. So I felt like, okay, I'm not the only one that feels this way, but I do feel like I'm in the minority. So if you like this, I'm glad. I mean, honestly, I wish I did. I love the color, like I said, but there's just something about like the creaminess and thickness of this formula that makes it not as user-friendly for me. So anyway, guys, I think that's everything that I have, but I would love to hear your thoughts on these products down below. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Let me know what you thought. Also, I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to watch this. I truly appreciate it. If you missed part 1 of this video that I posted back in March, I'll just put that right here, and you can see all the products that I didn't like in the beginning of 2024. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the best of 2024 that's coming up later this week. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.